The following program is an original MCM production for Community Channel 14.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on?
Hi, I'm Cassandra McShepherd, one of the hosts of What's Going On, and I am happy to be here with you today and very excited to have the conversation we're about to have. We're talking about something that is very important to me. It's very personal, and that's Alzheimer's. It's also critical for our community. I've got here with me Gina Green Harris, the one that I would say, she is responsible for bringing the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute here to Milwaukee. Also, I've got Stephanie Houston with the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute. She is the outreach specialist, Center for Urban Population Health. And we've got Mr. Bashir Eastern. He is the dementia care specialist with the Milwaukee County. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Let's do this first, Gina, because people often confuse the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute with the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Association. So what is the Institute and how do they differ?
We work very closely with the Alzheimer's Association, but what really differentiates us is that we're really working toward getting that loved one a diagnosis. So we work through our diagnostic memory clinics. We work with physicians and otherwise to make sure that families, first of all, get diagnosed and then are connected to direct services and resources, hence that Stephanie Houston's role. And so we collaborate with different partners such as the Milwaukee County Department on Aging. And we work very closely with the Alzheimer's Association. The association does research on a global perspective and on the national level as well. But equally as important, they really support the caregivers with programming and resources. And we kind of go in the homes a little more, right. And we make sure that, again, once a family has gotten a diagnosis, that they land stable on their feet. Yeah. So we walk them through multiple systems and services, and we kind of hold their hands until they get stable.
But dementia does not discriminate.
Exactly.
So talk about the impact, please, to communities of color that dementia has.
The studies and the statistics show that African Americans are 2 times more likely to get dementia, as well as Hispanics are 1.5 times more likely to be diagnosed with dementia. The disparity is obviously there. What we also know is that we are also more likely to get diagnosed later in the disease trajectory. And so that's pretty significant as well, which means that if you're diagnosed later, that means that the care burden stress is much higher. That means that you've dealt with the disease much longer. And the other issue for communities of color, which is significant, is the comorbidities, right? So we're talking about diabetes, hypertension, etc. And those illnesses really impact the disease even greater. So we have to really know that as we are aging in Wisconsin, we have a large brown population aging with us. And with that comes the complexity of all of those illnesses that we're living with, and Alzheimer's disease is just going to be added on top of that. And so it's really, I think, a urgency right now for us to begin to address this issue in communities of color, because we know it's there. We know our moms have it, our sisters, our brothers, they have some kind of cognitive impairment. And quite frankly, we still have, contrary to popular belief, we still have a lot of denial going on. And that's because of the stigma around the illness. And so what we're trying to do really is educate our communities and say, let's talk about this. Let's stop pretending that it's not there. It's not normal aging. It is not that mom is senile. There is something that is physiologically wrong. The brain is literally dying from this treacherous disease. And so that is really what we think is important about our role in the community. And that's why we're here. We're here to educate. We're here to really make a difference by bringing programs to the community that focus on communities of color, that specifically meet us where we are, and that really make a difference in our, not only the ones living with, but their caretakers. Because we also know the studies show that sometimes our caretakers pass on before those living with. And that's pretty, that will will lead to even more difficulties.
Right. Now, Alzheimer's is diagnosed how exactly? I mean, it's, and you and I have had this conversation often, but I don't think it can be overstated. I think we've got too many things to remember. That's all. I mean, really. It's too much. So it's not that I can't remember my appointments today.
Right.
Or is it?
No, it's not that.
All right. What is it?
So, and Stephanie, you certainly are welcome to jump in as you work in the clinics and do the with the physicians and nurse practitioners to do the diagnosing. But quite frankly, Alzheimer's disease is not just normal memory loss. It's not you leaving your keys at home and then going to the car and saying, darn it, I left my keys. It's really if you don't even know you have keys, or you don't know what those keys are for, or if you get in your car and you don't quite know how to get out of your car. If you drive somewhere that you've been driving for years and now you have no idea how to get back home, or, you know, many of us drive to work and say, well, I don't even know how I got here, but we remember the pathway home, right? Or we remember the pathway if we need to. It's really being lost. You know, you hear folks wandering. They've been going to the same church for 30 years, but now they have no idea where that church is, or who that pastor is, or who those friends are. Those are signs that you may have some concerns with your memory, and that's really important. How do you get diagnosed was part of your question, and it's not just one simple test. Actually, there are assessments that are done, and quite frankly, what happens is that they rule out other things. So dementia, once a person has been diagnosed with a dementia such as Alzheimer's disease, because dementia is the umbrella, right? It's a form, it's the illness, but then underneath that are types of dementia, and Alzheimer's disease is one type of dementia. And so once you're diagnosed with the dementia, then it has to go to further stages to figure out what type of dementia. It could be mixed dementia, it could be frontal temporal dementia, etc. But it's an assessment that is done, and you may see a neurologist, you may see a gerontologist, but the point is that it's not just, oh, I'm just going to go in here and get this one test and it shows everything. It just doesn't work like that. Folks can have reversible dementias.
I was going to ask you that, yes.
Yeah, depression can mimic memory loss. A urinary tract infection can mimic memory loss. If you have a mixture of your medications that are not being given or taken properly, it can mimic memory loss. The most important thing, and I'm going to let Stephanie finish this conversation, but I think the most important message that I'd like to leave in this part, for me and my part of the conversation, is that if you suspect something, act on it.
And let me, before you, Stephanie, say also to those of us who are in contact with loved ones, parents, or family members, it's oftentimes picked up by loved ones.
Yes.
It's oftentimes that you just see little glitches or little things, little oddities in your spouse, your parents, and aunt, or whomever that's been doing the same things that you realize. And I know I've gone through this, and I know Bashir, you right, and so we don't have time for denial.
Right. Exactly.
We don't have time for excuses.
Exactly.
It's not personal.
And
Call the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute.
Exactly. And I'd like Stephanie to talk about, to your point, the families and the role they play, because oftentimes the family is the most a crucial part of getting a diagnosis.
Yes, and so when families do call into the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute, we do an assessment, just a telephone screen, because we also are looking to see, have there been some changes maybe in that person's personality and behavior, because it's definitely a slow progression.
Yes.
It's not something that's always just right in your face instantly. So it's as you see the slow changes of the person not being interested in activities that they once used to be really interested in, poor judgment, maybe making bad financial decisions, forgetting appointments.
Yes.
Also not being very orientated.
Yeah.
They forget the month, the day, the year, things that they were held dear to them,
Yes.
birthdays and different family events. So definitely being able to, that loved one is really a very important piece. And also they serve as an advocate
Yes.
for that person who is quietly declining. They are noticing the changes, and it's up to them. And we charge our community to definitely, if you see that your loved one is declining, to definitely speak to your loved one, speak to your other family members so that they can get the help and support they need.
Bashir, what is your experience with this disease?
Very personal. My mother was actually diagnosed at 55 with dementia.
Which we would think is relative. We used to think is relatively young.
Yes.
And what happened is that she didn't have a husband. It was me and my two sisters that saw some oddities, as we talked about. As children, we saw things going on with my mother, but did not pick it up because we're kids.
Right,
you
of
know.
course.
And as we got older, what was happening, she wasn't taking care of those other items. Her diabetes, she was a smoker. She did all these different things but she lived on her own. And one day, because she wasn't managing diabetes, she had an ulcer on her foot. As the ulcer became getting worse and stuff like that, they wanted to keep her foot. We took her to the doctor. They stated that, we're going to have to amputate, but what we'll do is, instead of taking the whole foot, we'll just take your toes, right? So they took her toes. And when she went under anesthesia, came out, and she had a smile on her face, but was sitting there like she was in it, like still coming out of the anesthesia. The nurse told us, just take her home, monitor her a little bit. Me and my sister did just that, took her back to where she lived, called her the next day. She didn't answer the phone. We beat down the door. She was sitting in the same place, same clothes, same expression on her face. Very concerned at that point. We all had lives. We didn't know what was going on. Took her back to the doctor, and he just stated that she has dementia, and now she can't live by herself anymore. We take care of her now. She's 66 now. But during that time, we had no idea where to go.
Yes.
Who do we talk to?
Exactly.
It changed our life, literally. My sister was married at the time. She went through a divorce because of it. A lot of the stress. I had to pick up a part-time job as a PCW to care for her.
Yes.
We could not place her at that moment in any of our homes at that point because we weren't ready to have someone there 24 hours.
Of course.
So we had to place her in a nursing home, which was already traumatic for a 55-year-old.
Yes.
She wasn't qualified for any other services because she wasn't 60 or 65. So we were in limbo, and we didn't hear about the association, Alzheimer's Association, or even the Institute at that time because we weren't looking to think that there was something there. We take care of her now. My sister takes care of her during the week, and I take care of her during the weekends, and we love her. Love her to death.
Of course.
But we see the decline. And the information that's out here now, we're utilizing now to help her. So it's very personal. And me as the dementia care specialist for Milwaukee County, it adds that extra push to get to these families that went through the exact same thing or going through the exact same thing as we did. And when we talk about the African American community and Latino community, it's that stigma. They don't want people to know. They're saying, I don't want this person's dignity to be shook or anything like that. But what's happening is they're thinking they can do it all alone, and that caregiver burden is major, and it happens every day, even on the weekends. And so we try to continue to talk about these things to get that out and to help those individuals who think they can just do it by themselves. And there's all these resources out here you can utilize, and you should definitely do that.
Yes. I love how you said your life changed. Your life changed, because that's exactly what it does.
Yes.
And it changes forever. But it is not bad. I mean, I have some amazing things developed in me on my journey caring for my mother. Things that I didn't even realize were happening. And I'm on the back end of it now. But I think it's important that we stress again to the community, it's not going to go away. But there is so much there's so much room to grow within the situation. And I always like to remind caregivers, your loved one is there.
Yes.
They might not speak in the language that you're used to, but we mustn't hold them hostage to words.
Yes.
They're there in a wink and a smile. You know them, unlike any medical professional, and so it is important that we go fearlessly and take advantage, as you say,
Yeah.
of some of the help. And the blessing is there is much help available. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something that I am so incredibly excited about, and that is the chorus.
Oh, yes.
Because this is a chorus. Well, actually, that's Stephanie. Yes.
Yes.
You tell us about it. It's so exciting.
We are so delighted at the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute to have a chorus project entitled Melodies and Memory.
Yes.
And it's building our community through song. And we were so fortunate, we've been funded through the Helen Bader Foundation. Dr. Mary Middleman, she's a researcher at New York University, and she approached the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute about doing a project such as this in Milwaukee. And so we all journeyed to New York, yourself included, and we really had an opportunity to see just something amazing before our eyes happen, where individuals, this chorus is made up of individuals and caregivers or supportive friends, and they rehearse on a weekly basis. And the purpose or the main benefits of the chorus is definitely for the person who has dementia and that caregiver to participate in a very engaging activity that definitely they're learning new songs together or remembering to sing new songs, old songs together, but to actually participate in engaging in a very stimulating and fun activity away from a lot of that caregiving stress and strain. And at the same time, the chorus is a place where people can come and they feel community, they feel supported, those not only the individuals but those caregivers as well. So there are two main benefits. And so we were able to journey over to New York to see their chorus.
Very successful.
Very successful.
3 years, well, 4 years at this point.
Yes.
And so being able to see that chorus and then being able to come back to Milwaukee and be so fortunate to be able to replicate that project here in Milwaukee.
And it was replicated last year, and you had your first performance in
December.
In December. Quite successful.
Very successful. It's just amazing, and kudos to Stephanie for being a coordinator. We went to New York. We wanted to make it happen in Milwaukee. We brought it back, and we did what we needed to do with the support of everyone. And what was so magnificent is that the families came out to support their loved ones. And you're right. I mean, Cassandra was our host, and you hosted, and it was fantastic. We had standing room only, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. What we saw was something absolutely beautiful, and that is the beauty of music, the beauty of song, and the power of connectivity. It was just so fantastic, and we encourage families to bring your loved ones to the chorus because it is absolutely mind-blowing and breathtaking. And
well, one of the things that we learned in New York is we talk about the power of music. I mean, you think about babies or kids who know song lyrics. They can't necessarily put a sentence together, but they know song lyrics. But music has a power. It communicates with us. It transcends logical thinking. It's on a cellular level. And they talked about how. But the other great thing is it is a place where caregivers and loved ones can go and participate in something together. There's not a lot, if any, situations where you can do that together and do something together. They also talked about how you can use the songs to communicate with your loved ones at home later. I mean, it's awesome. And so you're starting again?
We've started the course again, and Stephanie can talk about the rehearsal dates and everything that's going on with that.
Sure, and I just don't want to forget, because we definitely couldn't do this project alone. Our chorus is named the Amazing Grace Chorus, named by our director, Gina Green Harris, and so just wonderfully fitting to the chorus and the participants. And we have some amazing conductors who are also part of this project. Arlene Skorowski, she taught music teacher. taught in Milwaukee Public Schools for over 20 years. We have Mr. Casey Williams, international country star, music teacher. We also have Mr. Micah Shaw, who's extraordinary musician in his own right. Vante Jones. He is also an individual who actually replicated the Harlem Boys Choir here in Milwaukee, and he's a part of our chorus as well. And then we also thought it was really important to have a community advisor, so we were actually able to also get Joe Nathaniel Jr. of the Majestic Community Choir. He's been, of course, directing that choir for over 35 years. So definitely with our season, we completed our first season, and now we began our season in February. We go until May 9th, and we're looking to have a concert. But the great thing about the Amazing Grace Chorus is that the additional benefits that individuals receive from it. Because they're learning new songs. They are defying what people actually believe about people who have memory loss.
That's why it's so important.
People believe that people can't learn, and this is just not true. They're learning new songs, and because they are so engaged, it helps to improve their attention, their focus. And we're seeing the benefits or the fruit of this labor, where the self-confidence, they're leading songs, they're bringing songs to the chorus. They're more verbal. People are noticing, we hear from the caregivers how their loved one is singing the songs at home. People at church are noticing they're singing more at church. And so we also, with our participants, I want to say this, because we have people who go from a range from mild to moderate to people who are in early stages or even mid stages of Alzheimer's who participate. We look at these individuals as ambassadors, because they are raising awareness in this community, and we're so proud of them. And they have been so faithful each and every Saturday to come out. And we couldn't thank Principal Barry Applewhite at Milwaukee High School of the Arts enough for giving us the space to be able to rehearse each and every weekend there. So we are very grateful to him that we're able to actually do the project there.
It is divine. Divinity.
It is definitely.
And it is divine.
And I just want to say, what Stephanie describes is really what makes the WAI Milwaukee what we are. And that is collaborative connectivity. It's all about building the community together. And that's what our goal is. And so we would never have been able to do this by ourselves, but as you heard her say, there's so many working parts to it. And so we're just thankful and grateful that the community has actually allowed us and embraced what we're trying to bring. And because without the support of the community, we certainly wouldn't be able to be successful.
Well, as Bashir stated, and I went through the same thing on my journey, you don't even know to look for help. You know you need it, but you don't know, you don't have a clue as to what's available. And hopefully you will recognize that there is so much available in our community. We're going to take a short break, but on the other side, we've got, you are just taking she's busy. Minority Health Month?
Yes.
There's another great event that's coming up. We're going to talk about that on the other side of this break. But for now, I want to thank you all for joining us. And we're not done yet, so don't go. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. That's what's going on.
114th Infantry Company, Iraq.
The memories are all blurred.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
The words, they're hard to find.
I came back a different person.
I wonder if she's better off without me.
You just feel alone.
You gave all to the cause of freedom. Now it's our turn to give our all to you. It's free and totally confidential. Reach us at operationnotforgotten.com. We are here.
She passed away about 6 months ago. Sure, yeah, they missed their mom. It was hard to learn that there was no cure. You know, you don't want to see somebody that you love suffer. So we sought hospice care. The hospice people made her feel comfortable and pain-free. At first, the girls didn't know what was going on. The girls knew that Mommy was sick, that Mommy wasn't feeling well, but they didn't know that mommy was going to die. I don't always have the answers, the best answers to the questions that they're going to ask about what's going on. And often the hospice people would be there. And they helped, they helped me and the girls through just an incredibly hard time.
Welcome back. I'm Cassandra McShepard, one of the hosts of What's Going On, and we are talking about dementia, aging in our community. We have with us still the director of the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute Milwaukee chapter, Gina Green Harris. Also from the Milwaukee County Department of Aging, Jill Knight, who's a program coordinator. Welcome.
Thank you.
And rejoining us, Mr. Bashir Easter, who is a dementia care specialist. We had such a wonderful conversation in the last segment talking about the Institute, Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute, about dementia and about the wonderful course. But there's something else that's happening, and that is breaking the silence, which is what this is really all about, and education does that. So tell us about Minority Health Month.
Absolutely. So Minority Health Month actually is a national agenda item, and it began back in 2001. And it was designed specifically to address the concerns of the minority community. So it crosses African American, Hispanics, Asian, American Indian. It crosses all of our paths. And so what we try to do is bring awareness and information and education to our communities about issues that we know we are facing. Typically, a lot of folks focused on the traditional hypertension, diabetes, etc. But I happen to believe that Alzheimer's and dementia just is a minority health issue. It just is. And so we've been working on it, but last year was our first year that we actually were able to bring a Minority Health Month event to Milwaukee to actually focus on dementia. And that was the first time we did it, and the community said it's about time as a response. So this year we're back. We're excited. We're going to do another Breaking the Silence breakfast dialogue. It's going to be in Milwaukee and Racine again. Milwaukee is going to be April 8th at 8 a.m. It's going to be at the Italian Community Center. We're incredibly excited. We have Dr. Stephanie Johnson, who's a neuropsychologist, very fascinating woman. She actually, quite honestly, was helpful in the early days at the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute Milwaukee office. She helped us get some things grounded and structured, and so we're really excited to bring her back. The interesting thing is that she's bringing her story back this time. Dr. Johnson, though a neuropsychologist, is a caregiver for her mom, Joan Johnson, who was actually one of the first African-American female execs at IBM Milwaukee and Atlanta. She now suffers from vascular dementia. So the story behind that is also Stephanie's mom is third generation. So not only does her mom have it, but Stephanie's grandmother had it, as well as her great-grandmother. So Stephanie's been caregiving for someone living with dementia her entire life. And so now it's in her, now that the disease has impacted her mom, obviously she and her siblings are quite concerned, and the story is what is going to happen to us. And so her research is important, but most crucial to her right now is this going to attack our siblings? How is this going to impact us? So it's very personal. She has a very personal story that she's going to share. We also have Mr. Lou Holland Jr., who's going to talk with us. Mr. Lou Holland Jr., his dad is Lou Holland Sr., who's a UW alumni and football player, I believe, for the Canadian League. He used to be. He's currently suffering from dementia. And Mr. Holland has a fantastic story. He's just been an Alzheimer's champion, and he has shared his story, and he really has helped push the research agenda and to get communities of color engaged in research. And he has been an advocate to get folks to put their money where their mouth is and to really say, to push research dollars behind this project. He has supported our RAP program. He has supported the UW in finding ways to develop our research agenda that really includes and encumbers people of color. And so we're really excited to have him as part of our speaking panel. We also are excited because we're going to have a family caregiver panel to come and share their stories. And Bashir can talk a little bit more about that, as he's also going to be a part of that panel and his family. So we're going to really get down to the nitty-gritty and let the community have the largest voice in the room. And then we have a special guest in Amon Green, a former NFL running back. And so he's going to come in. Power-packed agenda, but or equally as important is our Amazing Grace Chorus is going to be performing. I am so excited about that. Come out to hear the chorus. If you don't come out for anything else, it will rock your socks. It will give you a new perspective of Alzheimer's and dementia, and it will simply give you the opportunity to see that this is something that we can get through. We can get through this. Yes. But as a community, we have to. Our title, by the way, our theme for the year is Alzheimer's disease. Facing dementia is a family affair. So facing dementia is a family affair, and we're incorporating saying that our community is come on out and be a part of the family. So April 8th at 8 a.m. Community Center.
And it is free.
It is no cost. It is free. And by the way, Cassandra McShepard will be our MC. So we are so excited. As our spokesperson, she has been so supportive. You've been so supportive of us. And we're so delighted to have you to come back and MC again. Yes. So we're really, we thank our sponsors, by the way. Beta Philanthropies is really helping us as always. The Department on Aging is our speaker sponsor. So we're so excited to partner with you again. Alzheimer's Association, etc. We just know this is something this is why we're here.
There is no cost.
No cost.
You do need
free
to
breakfast.
register.
You need to register.
Yes.
You can go online and register. We can have that information posted for you. But we also know if you would like to register, you can give Nia Norris a call at area code 414-219-5157. 5159. That's area code 414-219-5159. And we'd love to have you come out to the program.
Let's talk about the Milwaukee County Department of Aging.
The Department on Aging has three primary roles. One is to federally act as a designated area agency on aging, which is specifically what I am a part of. I'm a part of the entire Department on Aging, but we also have staff in the Area Agency on Aging. One of our goals is to connect older adults, their caregivers, people in the community with services, access to services, information. And through the Area Agency on Aging, since we do not specifically go out and provide personal care, homemaking, home-delivered meals, we contract with organizations and agencies. So we have a very, very strong partnership, not only with the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute, but the Alzheimer's Association, Interfaith Older Adult Programs, Jewish Family Services, that goes out and provides this information, services, for instance, telephone reassurance through the Interfaith program. It's a kind of like a wellness check for older adults who are vulnerable, who may be homebound in their own homes and just need that one-time daily phone call check. We have 5 state-of-the-art Milwaukee County-owned senior centers, which connect seniors socially with each other.
Which is so important.
Very important. And we also have the meal sites that are available to them. So there's many services that we provide at the Department on Aging, not specifically right out in the community, but we connect with many, many partnerships.
So again, and I refer back to your situation because it was something that I went through and something that most of us, if not all of us, when we are confronted with the fact that a loved one needs help, who do we call? We would call you.
We would call the Milwaukee County Department on Aging, and we have a resource center, which is another primary role of our department. It's the one-stop shop. It's the front door to accessing services and information, and that phone number is 414-289-6874. So if caregivers older adults themselves want access to information. We have flyers and brochures that we can certainly send people on our senior dining programs, the Department on Aging itself. We certainly would like them to connect with us through Facebook. So please like our Facebook page.
That's what time it is. I'm telling you. Not something that we would have said 10 years ago.
Right.
But okay.
Right.
Do you tweet as well?
We are going to start tweeting
Are you serious?
soon.
I was joking.
Yes.
that
We also have a website for people who are connected. www.county.milwaukee/aging, which provides individuals with a wealth of information on services and access to services.
Now, let me ask you this, and this I'm going to go off script because that's what I do. How is Milwaukee County aging? How are we doing?
The aging population is aging, and
Well,
there's
I'm part of it, so
more
I
and
know
more
that.
individuals. There are over 153,000 older adults, 60 years of age and older, in Milwaukee County, and it's growing as we speak. So, with our community partners, with the older adults, that's one thing that we encompass and we're very proud of, is that we invite the older adults to help us plan, to help us coordinate. We want to hear from them, and we have a Commission on Aging, 16-member Commission on Aging, which is kind of our guide that helps us plan and helps us advocate on behalf of older adults, which is very important to our work.
I think when you're caring for someone with dementia or the kind of disease that you don't come back from, it is, I know for me it was a harder burden. Caring for a child is tedious, they tell me. But they grow up to be like this, like people that contribute to the community. So they say. No, just joking. But when you're caring for someone, a loved one with a disease that they're not coming back from, it is physically challenging and emotionally challenging. And yet still, your heart's there, and so you do it. But it is critical that you take care of yourself, and there's a lot of times guilt that speak to that.
Yeah. Well, I do an intervention base. I go in and we talk. There's the 4 to 6 months I'm with this family. The first session of that Memory Care Connection is I talk to the caregiver and we go over what's going to happen. The second is a family intervention where you bring all of these family members that you don't want to talk about, your mom or your dad or your sister, they have to come to the table. So that's uncles, aunts, children, and we sit down and we either do it by Skype. If there's someone that's out of state, if they can be here, we want them there. And when we have those sessions, we talk about not Alzheimer's dementia as up in the cloud. We say, tell me what that looks like in your loved one. And when we have those discussions, each one has a different view of what it is with the disease, but never ties it to the disease. They rationalize why this loved one is doing these things. And when they talk about these things, I have my interventions, I remember, talk about dry eye, there was no dry eye. And the caregiver, which was a spouse, did not know the daughter felt that way. And the daughter didn't know why dad does this for his wife. And those are
It's
things
like
come
family
out.
therapy
It is
kind
that.
of.
But in that education is what can we do to maintain these individuals' safety in the home. And then at that point when we cannot do it, we have a plan and a goal and we need to activate it as needed. So we don't act out of crisis. So that is definitely something that is needed in the community where we force the issue. We force them to talk about the hard things. And then we take them to the places of the association, the institute, for them to see, there are these supports. I didn't know you were there. And we don't have to take them to the facility. We can bring them right into the home. And it's needed. Each intervention I've had so far, they keep coming back saying, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad the county has decided to do this. So,
wow, that's awesome. So what are there any other programs that you go actually in face-to-face contact with people? And we've talked about you all being just kind of a conduit for assistance of the aging population in the area. Anything else that you all want to highlight about that?
Well, I think what's very important, as I mentioned, is that we have so many partners and organizations. One of the things that I certainly wanted to bring up is our Alzheimer's Action Network, which is a collaboration between the Milwaukee County Department on Aging, the Alzheimer's Association, and the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute. And it's a network of over 30, I would have to say 30 plus community organizations, individuals, family caregivers that provide, we want to provide awareness of Alzheimer's disease and dementia, reduce the stigma, and connect people with early intervention. And we as a network will then support the work that Bashir will be doing out in the community with creating a dementia-capable community. So I think that's very important.
Dementia-capable community. Yeah, I like that. As I've said, as we know, it's not going away. As a matter of fact, as studies have shown that there are more and more cases being diagnosed, and even earlier. Than we used to think it was, grandma's a little special. We love her, but just don't pay her no mind.
Slide her plate under the door and keep going.
Well, but no, seriously, but I know that there have been some painfully early diagnosis, which you said is a process of elimination, but cases of dementia, and we are more likely to get it. You talked about because of other things. It's not just one thing.
Correct.
So reiterate that for those people that might have missed the first segment.
So, and to your point, Cassandra, yes, there is something that we are finding. Research actually is that folks are developing dementia actually earlier, and it actually can be identified in the brain through the MRIs and the PET scans, and it's in there, and the symptoms just haven't manifested.
Right.
And we know that early onset is a reality. Early onset is anything under the age of 60, and we know that that is becoming more prevalent. It hasn't, obviously, the largest group with dementia are 60 and over, 65 and over. But we are seeing this shift in paradigm, and we are noticing that folks are having mild cognitive impairment. We're noticing just changes in brain function and activity function, those types of things earlier. And what that says is that we need to do more for those folks under the age of 65, right? We need to really start looking at programming for folks who have this early onset piece. Now, I don't want people who are 55 and 50 because you forgot your keys or your cell phone to start thinking you got dementia, because you may not. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we know that lifestyle is important. Research is showing that it's important to have a healthy lifestyle. What you eat does matter. Exercise is really important. That's really what the studies are showing. And we also know that there's correlation between our heart, between our brain, between diabetes is really cutting edge right now. They're finding all kinds of relationship between diabetes, uncontrolled diabetes, if you will, and dementia, hypertension, stress levels. So those are things that, again, it's lifestyle interventions that we have to worry about. And what we do in our what we call midlife, which really is 40, I believe, to 65 is midlife is what they call. That range will actually impact us on the other end. And so it impacts our quality of life. So they're finding that folks who carry weight on them throughout our midlife stages are more likely to go on and develop some form of dementia.
And we've heard it. We've been hearing that for years.
We have.
And I don't know if we're taking it to heart yet. But this is one thing. And everything's connected.
Absolutely.
And I like that you said that all the research, there is no cure for Alzheimer's. And some of the dementias you talked about are reversible when they're diagnosed to be caused by other things.
So like depression is a dementia, it's reversible. So let's say your mom is having some memory issues and she may have a geriatric depression. You are treated for that depression and the symptoms go away. That's how you know. That's one of the ways. And but there's an assessment that folks have to have. So it involves doing some neurological testing. It involves doing some folks, the animal naming test. People have heard of this. The Mini-Cob. etc. But there's an assessment. They do blood work. They do. Your physician has to do a few assessments before they just come in. It's not just as, oh yeah, you got them. It's not that kind of thing.
Right.
They rule out other issues that could be causing some cognitive and memory issues. But that's really how they come to the assessment and the determination that you actually have dementia. That would then be one of the dementia's the umbrella. It's irreversible, and one of them would be your Alzheimer's, your mixed dementia, vascular, etc. Then they will go on to give you.
But
the
again,
diagnosis.
but the messages, and this is what we can all take, and it's what I hear in the programs that you talked about, especially for the caregivers.
Yes.
As Gina said, it matters
Yes.
what we're doing. Stress and depression are serious, and they wreak havoc on our brains, on our bodies. And so it's critical that this is something that we can do.
Yeah.
We can take, we know what to do. We know what to eat.
Yeah.
We know we got to move.
Right. Well, and I think the
we know
interesting thing is
this.
that exercise
We
does
do.
not mean going to the gym and doing these intensive exercise workouts for 2 and 3 hours.
Right.
It's getting out, it's walking briskly, it's doing it 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
It is not, running a marathon per se.
I mean,
or
cute if you
training.
can.
Cute if you
But
can,
yeah,
but that's
but yeah,
not the,
yeah, exactly.
And it's watching what you eat, and actually we've got to watch our carbs and, I know we love our Friday fish fries, and I'm okay with that, but you might want to try salmon instead of catfish sometimes, and you just have to really figure it out and do balance and really make sure that you have a healthy diet. And healthy is important, and we can figure that out as we go along.
And then what we're doing to push it, we are creating a dementia-capable, dementia-friendly community.
Yes.
And what that is we're literally changing the community. We're starting with 2 communities, Shorewood as well as Greendale. And what we're doing is we're educating the businesses. We're starting with 2 pillars, a memory cafe and a memory connection center.
Wonderful.
And these things will allow individuals, the memory cafe being a place for socialization, caregivers as well as the individuals with the disease to come and just have a good time. And then the memory connection center is where you go and get the support and information.
Wonderful.
And what those are is we're forcing the individuals in the community to take notice and take responsibility for people that are already in the community. The goal is to be dementia capable and friendly. Is when you walk from any part of the state, you'll see a little emblem on these stores to say I'm dementia capable partner, community partner, and then you go right in these communities and individuals can go in and live free and not be victimized as well.
I want to thank you all for sharing your time and your information with us today. We've been speaking with the Wisconsin Alzheimer's Institute and the Milwaukee County Department on Aging. You are not alone. If you need help, make sure that you get it. This is Cassandra McShepard, and that's what's going on.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? What's going on? In the meantime, right
This has been an MCM Productions program.